Hello, everyone, and welcome. We'll begin in a few minutes.
This way, correct, Barry? That's correct. That's weird for 200. Mattel doll is based on this Kate McKinnon character from a 2023 movie.
Again, if you're just joining us, welcome. You're in the right place, and we will get started in just a few minutes once we've let everyone in. Thanks for being here. All right, 7:02 my time, or just a couple minutes past the hour wherever you are. And welcome to tonight's Equitarian Roundup. This is a summary of our impact, achievements, and reflections on the past year. Very timely for the end of December now. The webinar tonight is the grand finale of what we call our Cafe webinar series for 2024, which has been a bi-monthly educational event aiming to bring together experts in working equity care from all over the world. Tonight, as a valued stakeholder in our mission, you're invited to hear about the organization's achievements from the year. So thanks for being here. Tonight's event is a video montage with a short presentation, two short presentations that will last approximately 1 hour. As I mentioned, this event is open for all, and we're glad you're here, whether you've been a supporter of the organization, whether you are an official member, a volunteer, or just someone who's curious about what we do. We do have a couple of expectations for you tonight, just to help things go pretty smoothly. Your microphone muted is best, but if possible, where you are, feel free to turn your camera on so we can see you. Of course, if you need to conserve your bandwidth and keep it off, we certainly understand that as well. We will not have time for a Q&A at the end of tonight's presentation, but if something urgent does come up, please feel free to post that in the chat as opposed to unmuting yourself during the presentation. The session will be recorded, as you've probably already noticed, and we will share that recording later with all of you, as well as anyone who registered but was not able to attend. Again, welcome all of you, and I pass it over to you, Annie.
Awesome. Thank you, Angie. Well, hey, everyone, and welcome to our final webinar of 2024. What a ride. We're really thrilled to spend time with you all and share a summary of our year in programs, and in addition to what we've learned as it applies to our strategic plan and our approach as we enter 2025. So first off, I want to acknowledge my colleagues and their tireless work to make EI's mission a reality. My two co-presenters include Dr. Angie Varnum, who you just met, EI's education director, and she just gave us the webinar and housekeeping welcome. And shortly, we'll hear from Dr. Varnum about EI's educational programming and how that's ultimately shaped our approach to employ sustainable methods for improving care across our service regions in conjunction with our partners and participants. So Dr. Varnum's work and vision in steering EI's educational objectives has prompted our most meaningful growth and accomplishments to date. Her leadership in this space is truly remarkable, and it's a genuine pleasure to work alongside her as we can continue to learn, revise, and adapt our way into the successes we'll share with you guys tonight. So our other team member here, Dr. Daniela Martinez, is EI's Latin American Program Coordinator, and she's here as well. Dr. Martinez is currently recovering from a cold that we all seem to have contracted and then shared last week during the annual American Association for Equine Practitioners Convention in Orlando. So I promised I wouldn't make her speak this evening. But you should all be aware that Dr. Martinez's contributions to EI success this past year have been absolutely monumental. Since joining the team in 2023, Dr. Martinez has carved out her role with EI and has made herself completely indispensable to our continued success. And in 2024, Dr. Martinez directly led or participated on 7 programs, including the scoping of 2 new programs, which were in Mexico and her homeland of Colombia. She launched and led a continuing education program with Latin American veterinary students and practicing veterinarians, and plays a vital role in building and maintaining our partnerships across Latin America. And on top of all of that, to just my constant astonishment, Dr. Martinez runs our social media and generally keeps the rest of us in line as kind of the strong organizer and coordinator. And in fact, she's responsible for organizing a lot of the content that you're going to see tonight that we plan to share. So Danny, thank you today and every day for all you do. Aside from our phenomenal staff, I must acknowledge the very best and committed board of directors who I've ever had the pleasure to call both my dear friends and partners in this work. Of course, our founders, Dr. Julie Wilson, Dr. Jay Merriam, Dr. Dave Turoff, officers, Dr. Judy Backer, Dr. Stacy Tinkler, Dr. Neil Gray, and Dr. Kate Link, and board members, Dr. Luis Arroyo Castro, Dr. Cassie Torhorst, and Dr. Amy McLean. And although we have more volunteers than I could ever acknowledge individually, we'd just be here the rest of the night if I were listing those guys off. I would like to extend a really big thanks to a few of our especially committed team members, Dr. Mark Anderson, Dr. Hillary Carroll, and Dr. Diana Arguello, who all assume roles in this organization far beyond what could ever be reasonably expected by someone who also has a day job. So to them and all of our volunteers, your dedication to this work is the heart and soul of this organization. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. To all of our partners across the Americas, you guys are the best of the best, and we are so grateful to have international colleagues working towards a shared goal. Thank you for welcoming us time and time again into your respective countries and sharing your local knowledge and culture. You're the reason we can do this. And to the working equids, may we aspire to give back just a fraction of what these horses, mules, and donkeys have given to human unity, progress, and feasibility. In some parts of the world, I always like to say horsepower is found in a black and white photo, but for 650 million people across the globe, they're as essential today as they have ever been throughout the course of human history. So that's why we're here. And finally, I'm kind of waiting for Danny to cue some music to usher me off like a Oscars speech, but I just want to thank all of you who are here, the EI community who makes all this possible. Our donors and our stakeholders do so much of the heavy lifting to get our teams to the far reaches of the globe to deliver service and to share their knowledge. Thank you for your continued support as donors and friends to EI. Okay, jump into the meat of it. Let's see. Angie, do we have the screen up? Or okay, there you go. Thanks. Angie's driving tonight.
And if you can just confirm you can see that okay?
I can. I've got a little black, well.
Yeah, there is a little like gray square in the bottom.
Yeah, I didn't know how to describe it either, Danny.
I was thinking
I'll try that again.
Huh. Well, suffice to say, we're better at executing working equid programs internationally than we are at technology. So you guys can
Is the square still there? I think.
It seems to be going with your mouse, Angie, for reasons I could never explain. Right there where you have it, looks like it's minimized.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
We'll just jump in. Hopefully that's not too distracting, but we'll figure it out as we go. We always do. That's kind of the nature of EI. Very adaptable crew, if you know any of us. So shifting gears. So, typically we present on our impact and how many animals and people that we've reached or educated or how many we've served. But there's an additional and lesser known outcome of EI's work and mission. And For those of you who join us this evening who are not veterinarians or animal health care professionals, you may not be aware of some of the current challenges and dialogue amongst the veterinary industry, and more specifically the equine veterinary industry. Currently, the profession of equine veterinary medicine is experiencing what is being referred to as a retention crisis. From the AAP, that's the American Association of Equine Practitioners Commission on Equine Veterinary Sustainability, approximately 1.3% of new veterinary graduates enter equine practice directly each year, and another 4.5% pursue further training in equine internship positions. Within 5 years, however, 50% of all these veterinarians leave for small animal practice or quit veterinary medicine altogether. And, you know, the primary reasons are burnout due to, you know, personal demands of the profession and you know, struggle due to lower starting salaries, large student debt loads for equine practice when compared to some of the companion animal practice, which is small animal dogs, cats, etc. And then from 2024 AVMA, that's the American Veterinary Medical Association, and AAP report on the economic state of veterinary profession, 23% of associates and 12% of owners are considering or have definitely decided to leave equine practice. Of those considering leaving equine practice, almost 30% graduated in 2020 or 2021, and almost 2/3 graduated in 2000, the year 2000 or later. So, you know, in a nutshell, what this really means is that this profession has experienced a massive attrition, and there are a myriad of factors that are contributing to this decline. As we all know, according to a 2023 study published in a peer-reviewed publication found in Veterinary World Journal, there is considerable evidence that veterinarian practitioners and veterinary students experience high rates of depression, anxiety, burnout, you know, occupational stressors reported in long working hours, client expectations, unexpected patient outcomes, communication with clients, high workloads, the rising cost of veterinary care, professional isolation, occupational imbalance. You know, their veterinarians are often exposed to psychological distress from, you know, very challenging scenarios that I think all of you here tonight can understand. And a lot of those are related to interpersonal conflicts and, you know, performing euthanasia, and, you know, the personality attracted to veterinary medicine are often more predisposed to poor mental health. So, you know, one outcome of that mental health sadly does include higher suicide rates among this profession. So that's the dark side. To the light, thankfully, this issue has gained a huge amount of traction amongst the veterinary industry, and there are a lot of tremendous efforts underway to address and amend these factors, which are contributing to a decline in practicing equine vets. So one of the interventions that is picking up a lot of steam amongst the profession is the correlation between volunteerism and improved mental health. So, you know, based on countless testimonials from our volunteers, many of which are here through the past, you know, 14 years or so of operation, we know that our participants share this renewed passion for their profession. And I'm really willing to bet my bottom dollar that we're going to start seeing some shifts in the industry culture, and EI will remain a committed member of that movement. So I decided to talk about this tonight. Again, it's a little bit out of our typical impact reporting, but our role and impact is not something that's, you know, just for the distant and underserved populations. Our mission is to improve the health and welfare of working equids and the families that own them, but we exist because of the community of people who have dedicated a piece of themselves to this work. And in turn, it's our responsibility to equally maintain the health and welfare of those who make our mission a reality. So in addition to talking about program impacts, we're going to just share a few words from our team members throughout. We'll kick it off with a little excerpt from Dr. Mary and Dr. Turoff and a few other of our volunteers in 2024, just to kind of get a sense of what their experience is in working with the Equitarian initiative. So take her away, Angie.
Hello, I am Jay Merriam, and one of the early founders of the Equitarian initiative. We made up the word Equitarian so you will know what we do. We help working horses, donkeys, and mules throughout the world stay healthy. Most of them do not have adequate health care. We train in-country veterinarians and caregivers and American veterinarians and caregivers and technicians in the special needs of these wonderful animals.
And so I signed up to go on that mission, which they at the time were doing twice a year, to the northern region of Guatemala, the Petén. And I thought it was just going to be a one-off. I thought I'd go and I'd do 2 weeks there and I'd check that box and that would be that. But almost immediately I realized that I had kind of found my tribe and I wanted to go back. So I started going back every 6 months to Guatemala. And then about a year later, the opportunity came up to begin a program in Peru. But about that same time, the Equitarian Initiative came up, and I was offered the opportunity to serve on the board of the Equitarian Initiative, and that was in 2010. And so ever since 2010, my involvement has been through Equitarian. So that's my history with it. It's the main thing I care about in veterinary medicine.
For me, going on trips is just a really good reminder of why we got into veterinary medicine, right? So helping people through helping their animals. I feel like going on the trips and just seeing the relationships between the local community and how special the horses are and just how integrated they are into everyday life. You know, you see families with little kids, older families, like everybody is just so involved, and it really just gives you a good feeling to know that you're making a true difference. And then just kind of bringing that home and integrating that community and that relationship that people have with their horses into your practice, just trying to really like use some of, because right, we learn from them too, so we go down there to educate, but at the same time we also learn from them like just how truly special horses are and how we can help people locally as well, just to kind of have that relationship with our horse and just make the human and the horse all around healthier.
I think the thing that draws me to Equitarian Initiative are the collegiality, the workload, and the feeling that you can actually change the course of a family by doing a set of teeth. The things that I like, the things that bring me back, are that the lessons that I learn in the third world are lessons that are very applicable in the first world. When I think about how hard life is, it makes whatever I do that much easier here.
Awesome. Thanks, Angie. Yeah, so thanks everybody for, we tried to mix it up between listening and reading, so I wasn't just kind of talking at you, but that's what I'll do the rest of the time. So, this is just a really important part of what we do, obviously, to develop new leadership, to have succession within the organization. The field of equine veterinary medicine needs to continue to thrive. So we're thrilled that the industry as a whole is really taking a good hard look, not just at the Equitarian initiative, but other ways that veterinary professionals have figured out to fill their own cups, because this is tough work, and we all know that firsthand. So, okay, we'll get into our kind of typical impact. Just to let you guys know what we did this year. It was another big one for us. We kind of came out of COVID just kicking. So we're really excited with the addition of a few new programs. But first, I just want to say a big thanks. You can see at the top of that slide on the left-hand side, a couple of our partners. Our largest program supporters, the Foundation for the Horse, which is the charitable arm of the American Association of Equine Practitioners, Zoetis, Boehringer Ingelheim, and a newer partner of ours, Horse Plus Humane Society out of Tennessee. So we have many more foundations that we work with, but these are some of the largest ongoing program supporters. So a big thanks to them. We wouldn't be able to do this without them. And really the Foundation for the Horse, which has been on the ground since we got started, right next to each other. So, all right. So in 2024, we treated over 3,000 animals with direct veterinary care. We partner with 23 organizations across our program regions. We are working in 12 countries and or sovereign nations, and we are offering 14 programs throughout the year. We've worked with over 250 students, and we had over 170 volunteers on the programs this year. So huge kind of congratulations to our team and everyone who participated. It's really just a banner year. Okay, so kind of jumping in, I'm just going to really quickly zip through these since you guys can all kind of see some of the impact. But this program in Costa Rica in the Nagobe region, which is an indigenous tribe, is ran by and led by Dr. Neil Gray. This program is in partnership with the Universidad Nacional Costa Rica, UNA, and Costa Rica Equine Welfare, which is CREW. Those are our local partners. Our other program in Costa Rica, I'm just going to spend a little bit more time on. This program is led by Dr. Judy Backer and Dr. Cassie Torhorst. The OSA program is the former home to EI's annual workshop model. And this program is established in 2016 and executed in partnership with, again, UNA and CREW. So following that COVID-19 pandemic, we decided that although our workshop model held significant value to EI and our growth, we wanted to shift into a more local training effort as opposed to placing our educational emphasis on North American vets and students. So because our goal is to really foster local independence and sustainability by contributing to a strong network of local service providers, we transitioned into more of an owner education model. And as a result, the health of the OSA's working equids has been extraordinary, and local owners take great pride in their animals and show continued commitment to their welfare. There are now 2 local veterinarians practicing in the OSA, which is not the case when we first started working there. And they're delivering ongoing care and earning a sustainable income for their services. So EI will continue to work with these local Costa Rican vets and provide continued education and support for the region, but we're also going to be transitioning to an intervention led entirely by Costa Ricans. And while we're concluding our work on the OSA, we're not leaving Costa Rica. We have 2025 programming planned and is underway for some underserved regions, including several indigenous communities who currently lack access to services. So this is really exciting for us. This is one of the first programs that we can say has reached graduation. And this for us is sustainability in action. So we're really excited to share this success story with you. Our next program is Mexico. This is a new program that we scoped in 2024 by Dr. Daniela Martinez. It's held in partnership with the University of Puebla, held in the state of Puebla. And we are really excited to update you guys to the progress in 2025. This will be one of several full-fledged programs in the area. As many of you know, our roots are in fact in Mexico. That's where our first workshop was ever held. in 2010. So we look forward to returning to the region and establishing ongoing programming there. The next program was held in Colombia, and again, led by Dr. Danielle Martinez, who is Colombian. This was, again, a scoping trip that was really successful. There was a large effort on behalf of multiple organizations, including World Horse Welfare, Fundación Herreros Colombia, Universidad CES, VECO, which is a agricultural production company, and AgroSavia, which is a local agronomy corporation. And Danny was very successful in this program and actually hosting a working equid colloquium with these partners, in addition to then scoping new program regions, including an indigenous community in the area. So we're really excited to launch this one as well, and look forward to, again, updating you on this program that Dr. Danielle Martinez will be spearheading. Our next program was held in Guatemala, this in the Petén region. This is led by Dr. Kate Link and Dr. Kate Schoenhals. This program visits the most northern region of Guatemala, known as the Petén. It's held in collaboration with the Universidad Mariano Galvez and their astounding 38 participating veterinary students. This program was initially ran by EI founding member Dr. Dave Turoff, but was assumed by Dr. Kate Link and Dr. Schoenhals in 2022, and this is an excellent example of EI's leadership development model in action as well. The other Guatemala program is led by Dr. Rob Franklin, and this program is comprised of 2 service weeks in Salama in the north of Guatemala City and Antigua, which is just west of Guatemala City. So this project was held in partnership with Full Bucket, TIVA, and again, the Universidad Mariano Galvez. Peru, one of our very popular programs, led by Dr. Stacy Tinkler. This program has just experienced such a significant amount of growth under her leadership, and it's held in partnership with Donkey Sanctuary, Innovar y Compartir, local partners, Yanapana Peru, which is a women's kind of social arm for social justice in the region, animal rights organization Vida Digna, and UNSAC, which is a veterinary college just outside of Cusco. For those of you who have had the opportunity to go visit, it's beautiful. And some of you guys may recall we had a documentary film shot in 2018 on this program, and it included 2 local veterinary students from UNSAC, and we're really proud to report that 2 of those students are now continuing service in the region as veterinarians with our support, and they're providing service year-round. And we are working with them in continuing education efforts, and getting them access to the resources they need to go practice and work with families and communities in the very high Andes in the mountains of Peru, which are primarily comprised of donkey villages, so to speak. So if you're one of the long ear fans, this is kind of Valhalla. So the one of our domestic programs, led by Dr. Judy Backer, is held on the Pine Ridge Reservation. This program actually is comprised of 2 separate trips, which one is a service week, which is our field program model in August, and then a community education course followed that and was held in October. So really excitingly, the working week part of this has become an elective rotation for 4th-year veterinary students at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And this recognition is really a significant milestone as students now receive academic credit for their hands-on experience. And it also indicates, again, that the university is acknowledging the value of volunteer work in these underserved communities. So during the October program, that 2-day Doctor in Your Horse class, as it's coined, more than 30 local participants gathered to learn and grow from our team of veterinarians and farriers. And we're just so impressed by, their ongoing dedication to, to learn and improve their skills. And, they've been working on improving hoof trimming techniques and expanding their knowledge in, nutrition, wound care. And this year it even did a little bit of acupressure. So it's a really phenomenal group of people to be working with. And we're just so lucky to have them as one of our domestic programs and friends and family nearby. The Dominican Republic, this is the flagship program that was founded by Dr. Jay Merriam, our co-founder of EI, and Project Samana is now in its, I clarified with Jay just the other week, in its 35th year of providing service and education to the region. It's now being led by Dr. Carrie McCoglin and Celeste Grace. And this program is being held in partnership with UNH, which is a local veterinary college, and they're working right now with Dr. Angie Barnum to expand some of their educational offerings and get more students through the door of that program. So again, always a pleasure to get a report on that very long-standing flagship that you know, poor Jay, he's it's still going, Jay. Nicaragua. This is these last two programs I'm going to share about are both we had some challenges, but then also some real silver linings and successes. In Nicaragua, due to some ongoing political unrest in the region, which is ultimately targeting Nicaraguan NGOs, and that includes our in-country partners who we have in every program that we work in. We decided to suspend this program in 2024. You know, one of the lessons from the COVID-19 pandemic that gets brought up constantly is, you know, we still were able to have success in providing education so care could be delivered to working equids on that local level. So those strong partners are really imperative. So in 2024, EI and Dr. Daniela Martinez established a mentorship program with our local partners, APRVET. 3 Nicaraguan veterinarians participated in 20 hours of online continuing education courses, including anesthesia, dentistry, and harness. So that's really, at the end of the day, what this work is about, is that these folks who are really putting boots on the ground can continue what they do best. The next program in Honduras, this program was supposed to run just last month in November, and unfortunately, the day that our volunteers were supposed to get on a plane, a hurricane swept through the northern regions of the country. And once again, we had to make the very difficult decision to postpone. However, this program is able to be rescheduled for February 2025. So we're quickly approaching that. And that will be held in conjunction with our local partners, Equinos de Honduras, as ECUS. And this one actually includes a new collaboration with the United States Army and UNAG, which is National University for Agriculture. This one is led by Dr. Daniela Martinez and Dr. Neil Gray. So again, you know, it's always hard to make those decisions, but our, you know, the entirety of our decision making is rooted in the safety of our volunteers and, of course, the community members where we work. With large flooding in the area, it becomes dangerous for them to get to those work sites, and many of them travel hours by foot with their horses to reach our field clinic. So we have to minimize impacts where possible and not expose them to danger. And then finally, I'll quickly touch on a newer program for us that is co-led by Dr. Mark Anderson and Dr. Rich Fisher. This is in partnership with a local Arizona nonprofit called Animal Rescue, which is spearheaded by Dr. Glenda Davis. And we are working with students from Scottsdale Community College. This program is on the Hopi and Navajo reservations, and it's going to be running, and in 2024, just started running twice annually. So that's taking place in April and September. This program has, again, another domestic one, has so much potential in some of the student inclusions and student education. We also have the American Association of Equine Veterinary Technicians, AAEVT, is emerging as a strong partner in this program as well for some continuing education. So those are the quick and dirty of the programs for the year. As you can see, it was a massive year for our team once again, and we are just going to keep plugging away and growing our program reach, in addition to continuing to work with new leadership amongst the organization. So I'm going to quickly touch on our approach. I'm not going to go too far into some of this since Dr. Barnum's going to jump in, but I just want to talk a little bit about, you know, what we've really learned in the time that we've been doing this work, and where that brings us to today as we talk about things like sustainability, which I know can be such a buzzword, but is really imperative to be pursuing. It's kind of our beacon, if you will. So, you know, as we really grow closer to our own mission and gain knowledge in providing this particular form of aid, you know, we've come to that conclusion that our primary objective and vehicle for sustainability must be rooted in the concept that we exist to support and foster local service provider networks. And when I say that, I mean veterinarians, students, farriers, community animal health workers, agronomists, organizers, et cetera, who reside in the community which we aim to help. You know, we're achieving this by pursuing a multifaceted approach. Again, won't go too far down the educational rabbit hole, but for the sake of context, we really look at local service providers through two educational lenses, including student-based education and community-based education. So just quickly to touch on that student-based, ultimately, EI student education combines online tailored equine educational curriculum and hands-on training, and that's in our field clinic setting as a part of our working equid field service model. So course topics include equine welfare, behavior, physical exams, harness, nutrition, parasitology, dentistry, podiatry, lameness surgery, anesthesia, vaccinations, just to, I guess, rattle off a few. But because the students that we work with are in the countries and are the future local service providers, the opportunity to work with this population contributes to local knowledge, exposure to working equids, and provides context of global working equids, and establishes a network of support between the EI team and our in-country partners. So that's where that's so important. The second being community-based education, and those target populations, from owners to handlers, children, et cetera. I'll kind of touch on that, but the owners and handlers are often the folks who bring their equids to our field clinics for care, and also what we call community animal health workers, or CAHWs. These individuals are members in any given community who provide some level of service or elevated health care with or without formal training, in the absence of other existing veterinary care. So community training can also include children's education. As many of you know, Dr. Angie Varnum is the architect of a coloring book that was designed to teach kids some basics about, husbandry. And oftentimes kids are responsible for animal care. So the more we can share some basic principles in welfare and good husbandry practices, the more we'll see some of these generational shifts in animal health. I'm going to get into just two concepts really quick. One health. So, alongside of our really robust educational model, we're also integrating the concept of One Health. And in the most simple of terms, One Health is an approach that recognizes that the health of humans is interdependent on the health of animals and the environment, and it's an interconnected system. One Health is not a new concept, but it has become really a lot more important and given a little more stage time in the recent years. And this is because many factors have been kind of brought to public awareness due to interactions between people, animals, and our environment, like COVID-19. It's a pretty good example in everyone's minds. And increasingly we're looking for opportunities to partner with organizations whose mission is to address environmental and human health across our service regions. So that kind of differs from our traditional model. But by approaching our programs from a whole system vantage as opposed to a one-dimensional concept, we believe that our impacts will be more effective and sustainable in the long run. And the reality is we have to acknowledge that EI's work addresses a symptom of a much larger systemic challenge, which is rooted in global disparity of wealth and resources. So this is why One Health is so important to our success. These local first solutions, which are based on local needs and resources, are the key to self-reliance and independence. And I just kind of quickly, as an example of One Health in action, our program in Peru includes the provision of delivering oat seeds to 25 families to improve forage for their animals in these high mountain environments, since nutrition is somewhat scarce in this rugged terrain. But providing those seeds isn't enough. We have to look at the availability of irrigation, and we have to understand the impacts of climate change. We have to look at the availability of human food sources, that animal forage isn't competing for human viability. So for this to work, it is a whole system approach, and we're working towards that all the time. And finally, community engagement, again, not a novel concept, but it's deeply important for effective programming. So in 2024, EI began working with a community engagement specialist to learn how we could improve our partnership practices amongst the communities where we provide service and training. So, again, to do this work, we must acknowledge that we are not native to the regions and that we have a privilege to go visit these areas, and we do not hold solutions to local problems. These deep-rooted and typically multi-generational sets of knowledge belong to the community members, and it's our job to ensure that they are involved in all things related to effective interventions, cultural awareness, and partnership. EI is pursuing a holistic approach to community engagement, and particularly within agrarian economies, really grounded in the recognition that the well-being of animals is intrinsic to the health of human communities. So, we really strive to embody a collaborative ethos, integrating local community members as essential stakeholders and not just service recipients in all these diverse program regions. So understanding the limitations of that external perspective, we are learning to better emphasize the necessity of local participation in decision-making and service provision, fostering that two-way exchange of culture and knowledge and education. So this is really important. When we put all these concepts together, really what we are seeing and what we're really excited about to really be having some strong evidence and data to go alongside of this is that these models are contributing to more service providers in the regions so that we can lessen our intervention and the need for large volunteer teams from potentially foreign areas to them, and the community buy-in increases. We need these things to go together. We need the community to understand the perceived value of veterinary medicine and animal welfare, and at the same time we need to foster local service providers so that when the right combination occurs between these two groups, that there's real income viability and sustainability in the region. So all right, I just want to get to the main attraction. So I'm going to reintroduce Dr. Angie Barnum, who is going to go into a lot more detail about the educational model and what it's really achieved, because this is really the bread and butter of what we do, and it is kind of the center of our decision making moving forward. So take it away, Angie.
Thanks, Annie. I apologize. I think I was a slide behind, so I'll leave this slide up and just note that I cannot see anyone while I'm sharing my screen. So if you need to get a hold of me and you're waving your arms, I'm not ignoring you. Please just speak up if you need me to adjust anything as I go. This is simply a quick behind the scenes look at what do we mean when we say we educate veterinary students. What really happens on a program? I echo Annie's emphasis on working with community-based organizations and community-based universities of veterinary medicine. Community-based simply means for the Equitarian Initiative that these are institutions present as close as possible to where the horses, donkeys, and mules live. So think of not just students from Guatemala City, but also including students from the very rural region of the northern part of the Petén in Guatemala, where working equids are in an even higher population in the country. So that's something that we're striving for. In this presentation, I will not overview all three of these populations, but I will speak on what did it look like to develop a curriculum for the veterinary students in Latin America in EI programs in the last 4 or 5 years. Well, we noted some strengths, which Annie has already alluded to. The strengths in the communities who work with working equids are, for example, bottom left, a very tight and intrinsic bond, some would even call it sort of spiritual, between the Lakota people and their horses present on the Northern Plains, including Pine Ridge, where the Equitarian Initiative works. Another strength of a community which we work with is a group of young arrieros or muleteers who use these animals as pack vehicles up and down a mountainous region of Peru. But in their free time, these young men and women also engage in horse racing and other horse recreational events, and they find a lot of joy in raising the next generation. We also noted strengths in the last several years among the veterinary students, namely that veterinary students from Latin American regions who partner with the Equitarian Initiative or sometimes just sign up for a week-long trip in their country out in the field, they've often said that you know, they have a lot of interest in learning about equids and bovines, large animal species, and they might not get as much experience in that as they'd like, but they're gritty and they want to be out in the field with these animals. And in return, the Equitarian Initiative, as you know, has the fortune of having a large number of veterinary volunteers, as well as equine professionals who are, you know, maybe in other professions related to the health of working equids, who want to work with these students and who want to get to know them better, get to know what makes them tick, and help them to become ultimately clinicians who are up for the job of seeing working equids in their careers. I hope you'll forgive me that I skipped just a couple of slides here, but what's the overall picture? You know, taking it back to these animals, if the people have so many strengths, what do the working equids need for their own, you know, strength? We know that they need a trained and practiced workforce who are ready to provide them preventive care, things like vaccines, proper hoof care, and as well as acute care. So when emergencies happen, and these veterinarians need to be there in an emergency, they need to be ready out of the gate once they graduate from veterinary school, and they need to have tools to solve really complex problems present at the sociocultural interface. In order to provide this care, donkeys, mules, and of course horses too need humane handling practices which keep everyone safe. And they also just need kind husbandry overall. So things outside of a veterinarian's purview, which might include harness fitting services, etc. So let's touch on that first need, that working equids need this trained and practiced workforce, which brings us to the veterinary students. This is the main stakeholder group, which I'll mention tonight. Out of the 3 that we have a curriculum specifically tailored for. The veterinary students have always been a part of the Equitarian Initiative's programs since the founding of the organization by Dr. Julie Wilson and Dr. J. Merriam. These partnerships have, by and large, resulted in opportunities for veterinary students to accompany EI veterinarians in the field on these 1 or 2 week long trips, which you now know so much about.
Hey, Angie, sorry to interrupt you. I'm not seeing your slides, just in case. Oh, I think it's that next screen over. Apologies. We're okay.
Tell me
Yes,
if this
I
is
can't
better.
see them.
Okay, sorry. They went on the other tab.
How's that?
Yep, great. Again, apologies, everyone. We're not tech gurus.
Thank you for letting me know. In 2020 and 2021, a collaborative effort between the Donkey Sanctuary, which is a working equid organization in the UK, and the Equitarian Initiative resulted in the course which you see at right. In English, it would translate to the formative course in welfare and preventive medicine of working equids. This was a virtual, do at your own pace course, of course in Spanish, developed for veterinary students in Peru. Again, this was during COVID. In total, 11 instructors, 3 coordinators across 6 countries and 7 organizations or institutions got together to make this course. And the course covers the topics that are shown at your left. It was the first of its kind ever created with a specific eye on working equids. The designers of the course, namely Dr. Stacy Tinkler and Dr. Joao Rodriguez, plus their collaborators, were all experienced educators of veterinary students. And so they sort of knew what veterinary students needed to know to be ready to go right out of the gate. But they didn't just provide lectures, because that is old news. They made visual materials. They created what you'd call now mini lectures, which are 15 to 20 minute or less short how-to clips and highly interactive materials, most of the time filmed, you know, by themselves with a camera, because no one could be around them during COVID. and brought together all of the important pieces of information as engaging as possible in the online sphere when we couldn't travel. So now, owing to this kind of pioneering course, the Equitarian Initiative, as well as the Donkey Sanctuary, is able to continue utilizing these materials kind of post-COVID when we can all be together again. So in the photo at right, you see all the little tiny squares. Those are examples of multiple courses that we launch every program, every EI program, specific to the needs and requests of the universities in those countries and in those regions where EI is about to travel. Again, these courses are delivered as a pre-field work primer for students in the Spanish language to help get them ready for the experiences that they're about to have, such as working with local harness makers in the photo at left. Sometimes it can be a little bit of a puzzle to solve. For example, how do we know that their curriculum is at the right level for students if we're just working with students in Colombia for the first time? Some students are fourth year, meaning they're all the way to performing surgeries by themselves, and others are just getting started in the veterinary field, and they may be quite young, owing to the different structure of education in other Latin American countries. Also, how do we know whether students are actually learning the information or are they just on overload and it's a resource provided but not really utilized? So that's part of my job, and excuse me, and part of the importance of having an education director is to make sure that the students are getting something that's very appropriate to their local needs. One way that we continue to find out what those are through the activities that are pictured here. So the upper left and the upper middle photos are in-person practical workshops, which were held in 2023 and 2024, in which the EI instructors gave practical hands-on practice for students in a variety of themes in university events. On the upper right and lower left are university-driven conferences in which EI members were invited to present and get to know students on a closer level, as well as network with faculty and understand what the exact needs were of those colleges of veterinary medicine. And on the bottom middle are students in Guatemala who are actually on a Zoom call with EI instructors, going over the course materials, answering questions, and then providing an extra synchronous or at the same time a meeting together over Zoom where different topics were covered, such as more in depth on internal medicine, equine ethology, etc. Additionally, before the students get to the field, we ask them, hey, what do you already know? And what are you hoping to know? What are your goals in doing this? And then we compare that to their knowledge after their participation in the course and their work in the field with the Equitarian Initiative. We try to get at their knowledge. So can they perform a physical exam? Are they ready to do surgery? Things like that, as well as assess, did their attitude change? And I'm not talking about, students having an attitude. The majority of these students are ready to go to work and extremely positive. What I mean is, are their attitudes towards working equids more or less favorable, i.e. when presented with a variety of choices on what kind of practice they want to go into in the future? Are they considering working equids as a feasible way to make a living? And are these a species that they care to continue seeing as future professionals? Sometimes we have an opportunity to evaluate their practices, so their technical abilities. Here, I'm observing a student completing her physical exam, and it's something called an objective structured clinical examination, which simply means show me where you put the stethoscope on the horse to listen to his intestines. And so we can check off and see if they have those skills in some of our programs as well. As previously mentioned, we tend to work with about the size of a typical US graduating class of veterinary students every year, but these students are spread out from about 8 different countries and 13 universities and growing. Most of the students, in fact, about 90%, are from regional universities, meaning they have to travel less than 3 hours to be where the working equids are. Over half are returning students, which tells us that they can count on this experience multiple times in what is usually a 5-year course of study. So if they're truly interested in this work, they can come back for more fine-tuning training. And remember, I told you that we also ask students about their attitudes. And so again, that's, what do you think about this type of work? Are you interested in doing this for a living? Is this more than just a 1-week fun experience for you? And something that I found extremely motivating is that this year, 91% of students who were asked that question following their participation with EI responded that it's probable or very probable that they will practice with working equids, whether they know it's required because they want to live in an area where there are a lot of cattle that require equines to be used for work, or perhaps they plan to live in a tourism dense region where they know working equids will be employed, or perhaps this has shifted their mindsets to be more interested in seeking out job opportunities with the equine species. After their participation, most students, in fact, all students, feel more prepared and to work with horses, donkeys, and mules. And 86% say, hey, I'm ready. I feel prepared, as opposed to about 30% of students say they feel ready prior to this experience. So this will be my last slide. And this is to say, what did we learn? What did we learn in implementing this curriculum with veterinary students over the last 4 years? And especially this year with the monumental growth in programs. Well, we learned that collaboration by specialists, which was started during COVID, where those 11 instructors got together to make the first ever course about working equids, has grown from, specialists as we may have been thinking about them at the time, specialists from maybe countries in the global north, to a real network of students, and not only that, but their professors who are now feeling well equipped in practicing medicine with working equids. And these students are oftentimes serving as the next wave of instructors, as you've heard has happened on our Peru program and in many others. So this network of specialists with which to collaborate keeps growing as the network of specialists about working equids. The Equitarian Initiative strives to customize the course, each online course, to the specific needs of the students. Where are the gaps in their knowledge? What are they already prepared to do? And we can offer this course not as a standalone, but as a supplement to the rest of their curriculum to help them to be day one ready. We learned a lot about how to run an online course, as did many during COVID, and we learned some things that really help students to stay more engaged and ultimately finish their learning before they're out in the field with Dr. Martinez and others. And overall, when we ask for students about their best moment of the trip, students tell us that they value that the Equitarian Initiative has instructors who really want to be there. They want to teach. And that's because of our very concentrated recruiting efforts among volunteers. I hate to say it, but we don't just send anyone. We try to recruit people with specific talents, abilities, patience, and passion that make the experience really this impactful for the students and allows them to ultimately be exposed to new communities in their very own region, of course, animals, and experience where they may have simply been overlooked before. Annie, I think I'm going to end it there. but if you'll allow me to bring the slides to our closing, which I think is here. Does that look right, Annie?
Looks good to me.
Okay.
Awesome.
Take it
Thank you so
away.
much. Thanks, Angie. You know, the work that you do among others is just absolutely phenomenal, incredible. And, you know, some of the results just speak for themselves and what we're seeing in our work. So, you know, of course, we just appreciate all of you guys just joining us tonight. And truly, you guys are the linchpin of our success and our continued growth. So, you know, you know, as we're looking at down the barrel at the final weeks of 2024, it's not too late to make your tax deductible donation to give the gift of health this year. And you know, I know it sounds like a fundraising cliche, the old adage, you know, just for just a cup of coffee, or maybe it's a latte now, or avocado toast, whatever it may be. Cue some like Sarah McLachlan and some skinny horse photos. But you know, there's actually a lot of real truth in this message, and I think that sometimes people don't always give to causes that they love because, you know, they feel like their contribution isn't substantial enough to make an impact. But those small donations made by an expansive community like EI, they add up to something really big. You know, personally, I like to spread out my contributions into monthly giving. That's a great way to do it. Not only does this stretch out my impact all year long, but I'm also a real set it and forget it gal, because otherwise I'm just a forgot it gal. So, you know, this is really easy. You can determine the amount that works for you, whether it's $10 or $100. You know, what all matters here is that we're all paddling in the same direction, and you know, we're working to grow our reach and impact for all the years to come. So you can always visit our donation page. I'll put that in the chat. And I also wanted to briefly announce a newly established fund called the J. Merriam Scholarship Fund. And the Scholarship Fund is dedicated to removing barriers for aspiring veterinarians and passionate volunteers who want to serve their communities. And this fund is really essential for supporting those in-country participants, veterinary students, you know, both domestically and internationally, those looking at some financial challenges, student loan debts, et cetera, who are really hungry to be doing this work. And that's who we want here. So this is a really important effort to get some of those folks in the door. I think that one thing that I've learned in my time working with EI is that the reality is that volunteering is a luxury that few of us are actually afforded. And, you know, for us to fulfill our mission to, as we, you know, talked at probably nauseum about tonight, to encourage those local service providers and, you know, create, you know, sustainability and that independence that we're seeking, we have to offset oftentimes the cost for some of these local participants and students who otherwise may struggle to join our program because frankly they can't give their time because they may be losing out on income. And so those are things that we really have to look at when we're designing these program models and figuring out how to get some of these folks in the door so that they're able to learn from our incredible team, and we learn from them equally, if not more. So this is a really exciting thing to be announcing. So again, thanks to each and every one of you who've been a part of our work and supported our mission over the years. Yeah, we're looking forward to another successful year and looking forward to 2025 and sharing our growth and our impact from years to come. So thank you guys all so much for being here tonight. And thanks to the Equitarian community and the team for making this all possible. Everyone have a great night.